Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blackshirt Breakdown. My name is Steve Marik. I'm a staff writer at Inside Nebraska, and he is Jay Foreman, our NFL veteran and former Husker Blackshirt himself. Jay, we have another Blackshirt breakdown to do, transfer edition. This one comes via the Georgia Bulldogs. Again, the back-to-back national champs. Arik Gilbert, 6'5", 250-pound tight end, highly touted guy. When he was coming out of high school in 2020, he was the number 1 rated tight end, and he was the number 9 overall recruit in the entire class. So look, I mean, I think a lot of college football fans maybe remember Gilbert's name in 2020. He started as a true freshman at LSU. He caught 35 passes for 368 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then transferred to Georgia, where he spent the past 2 seasons, 2021 and 2022. Kind of a rocky tenure, I guess, with the Georgia Bulldogs. He stepped away from the program altogether and didn't play college football in 2021. Returned to the team in 2022, but again, only played in three games. As he was behind kind of a loaded tight end room.
To say the least, right?
Yeah, absolutely. With Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, and then Oscar Delp, which is a really talented true freshman there that Georgia really likes. So, Jay, initial thoughts on Arik Gilbert?
Well, I think the potential and everything that you need, as far as any recruit, regardless if he's a transfer portal guy or a high school kid, is there. So that, his athletic ability and potential is second to none. So being number 1 rated coming out of high school and then having a good freshman year at LSU with that championship type of team, that bodes and tells you what he can do. Now, I think what this staff is looking at, I think, big risk, big return. I don't think he's a bad kid, where he say like he's been in and out of, legal trouble. I think it's just something for him to get in a situation to where he feels comfortable, surround him with the, outside, resources that is going to lead to success on the field. And whether you think about him or Xavier Betts, I think that this coaching staff is obviously saying, hey, look, the juice might be worth the squeeze. But then also, I think they also, in their heart of hearts, I can only guess, is that they think with their infrastructure and their plan for him and maybe their track record, which Matt Rhule, as far as the type of players and situations that he was able to recruit and have some good, return on investments from Temple players and obviously Baylor, that he feels that, it's worth the risk or it's a good match. And so, I think that they know the backstory as much as they can, but also I think they are willing to operate with these 2 gentlemen, and specifically Gilbert, with a clean slate. And that's where you have to give a ton of respect for him, where I'm assuming that, when he sits in front of Coach Rhule, everybody's put everything on the table and he says, I'm going to judge and treat you, with ultimate respect, with no prior, assumptions to lead to, future decisions. I'm going to take you as you are here, and this is what we need from you. And I think that's why you saw him commit and be happy to come here. And it might be a good change of scenery where, he's at LSU and Georgia, 2 kind of highly intense, where you're constantly facing competition. So if you have an off week, off month, or just kind of are, lack a little bit of focus, off the field, here's 2 or 3 guys that are just as good as you. And, you have that here at Nebraska, but it's a totally different part of the country where you can just really, really focus on football, focus on being the better person. And ideally, hopefully that's what Nebraska is trying to do to get the most out of him on and off the field.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so just a little bit of background before we get into some different plays from Arik. He is the second transfer from Georgia, joining MJ Sherman, that outside linebacker / D end type body. And then also another former SEC guy. Nebraska brought in 3 former Florida Gators chief boarders, Corey Collier, former 5-star safety, another highly touted dude.
Right.
And then the long snapper, Marco Ortiz, too, from Florida. So again, former talented guys that they are bringing into this program with a lot of SEC flavor. So it's going to be really interesting. But let's get into these highlights that we found of Arik Gilbert. And again, all of these are going to be coming from his true freshman season at LSU. They used
Right.
him in a variety of ways. Obviously, when you're 6'5", 250 pounds, you're in that mold of Kyle Pitts. When Arik Gilbert was a true freshman in 2020, Kyle Pitts was kind of doing his thing at the University of Florida, and he's doing some really good things with the Atlanta Falcons right now. But just a big, strong, fast guy who moves well. They use him as a traditional tight end, lining up next to a tackle. They put him in the slot. They lined him up on the line of scrimmage as kind of your traditional X receiver out there.
Right.
So I mean, 6'5", 250 pounds out there. That's got to be got to give the little corners something to think about. But this first play here, I thought was a really good one to kick this thing off. They are at Missouri, and he brings in a really difficult catch, big catch radius, I guess you could say.
Right. Yeah, and that's what you look for in the modern day tight end. Obviously these, for him, he's a guy where coming out of high school, that's his walking around weight. And so if you like boxing, a guy that doesn't have to, he didn't have to build himself up to be 6'5", 250. Look at him right there, as athletic as can be, high points the ball. So, you talked about a matchup problem for the little corner. There's a matchup problem for a pretty big, decent sized linebacker like myself. I'm being 6'2" and a half, that guy right there, look at the route. Pretty good route right there. Comes out of his break pretty good. Obviously locates the ball, and then obviously is able to go up within traffic. Obviously, I think you could maybe be a little bit early pass interference, but to bring it down and catch it. And this is when he's a true freshman. So this is a guy coming right from the high school. I would say these guys are just out of prom and getting into prime time. And so right there, that's a big time catch right there. And that's why you see he, coming out of high school, he was the number 1 rated tight end. And so when you think of being 6'5", 250, even though he had a short time at LSU, and then obviously 2 years at Georgia, I'd like to think and hope that some of the nuances and the tenacity and the accountability and the standard of what he learned at those 2 places would come with him and entrenched in him. So the biggest thing I think with a guy like this, is he competitive? Does he want to get better? Does he realize that he have to get better? And can he take, accountability and hard coaching, not personal coaching, hard coaching? Because when you're trying to get somebody to reach their potential like him and really get them to be goal oriented and focused on where he could be, which obviously will help out the team, the better he is, you're going to have to tell him some hard truths, and he's got to be able to accept it. So you see it right there. That's a catch that you see from a receiver. And I always say, look, man, when you got a tight end that's wearing a single number, he better be a bad dude. And so if he's wearing that number 2 or any type of single number that's not an 80, he's the real deal. So it's a good throw, but it's even better catch. And so this is what probably is exciting for the Nebraska coaches, Coach Rhule, Coach Satterfield, and all our offensive coaches, because being that big, you're able to maybe set some edges. And when you look at South Carolina, when they were really rolling those 2 games and where they had their coming out party against South Carolina, they had 2 big physical tight ends. So when you're matching with Fedoni and a host of other guys, you got to be excited.
And Jay, one of the good things that I really enjoy about doing these videos with you is I pick up on some things, and what I picked up on here and what you've said as well when we do skill guys tape. He's a hand catcher.
Right.
This one, he didn't let it get into his face mask. He didn't let it get into his chest plate. He caught it with his hands.
Yeah.
And secured the catch, a difficult catch at that. So that's the first thing I noticed on this. And then so that was a traditional you kind of tight end lining up next to the offensive tackle, and now he's split out wide here.
Yeah, this is good. This is the versatility you want in this modern day, college football. You want, when you have a good athlete like him. Not good. He's a great athlete where you want to be him to, play in the line, outside. He's out as an X right here. Good route. This is called a reverse China route. Essentially just a quick under route with either a 7 cut, a corner route, or a vertical by number 2. But you look at him getting off the ball, reading the leverage. Again, hand catcher, big, strong guy. You like the route to be a little bit better because he rounded it off. But being an 18-year-old kid, again, that you like it, catches it, that big catch radius. Now, look, he's able to box him out per se. That's why tight ends are good. Now, what you really like is the strength and the run after catch. You're looking at 5 yards after initial contact, break a tackle,
Mhm.
And then he had to, wherewithal to have good ball security. Actually, it's probably more than 5 yards. He actually got another 10 yards right there. That's it could be a game, potentially changing play where you not only get a first down, you flip the field. And then you see him here again out wide. Now, I mean, look at this, the body type of me. I mean, he's a good looking athlete.
Yep.
Obviously, that's going to get coaches excited in this day and time. And then the ability to run different routes. And they know right here, look, he's showing you right there. It's going to take 3 or 4 guys to tackle him. And if you don't have a really big time tackler, open field, space tackler, a little corner right there, is like you mentioned before, he's just bouncing off him like a gnat. And he's taking 2 or 3 guys in Auburn in a highly contested game in the SEC as a young true freshman, playing against a veteran defense and a veteran program here in Auburn. Look, it's third down. That's where you want your guys to make money and to be, a factor. He catches it 2 yards, right? 2 yards to the first down. Not only breaks the tackle, the leg strength is what really is a paramount. The balance right there. He got 5 or 6 more yards, and it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 guys to take him out. He's a big, strong kid, man. I mean, now granted, we need everything else to kind of match the potential and the athletic ability, but you like what you see here. And then you see him right here, off the ball, into the flat. They know to get him. Look good. I like the short area quickness and the run after the catch. No fair dodging. 15, 16 yards. I like this right here, right? This is let you know he knows how to run after the catch, running away from it, get his shoulder square, and then ask for somebody to come to the party. Now, look, they're getting beat pretty bad, but these are guys that he's playing against here in this situation that are trying to earn jobs. So he's out here playing football. Granted, you like the game to be 42-42, but in the SEC, there's no days off and no plays off. And these are the guys that you're seeing now play for Auburn on defense in the SEC. So this is legit competition. He's an 18-year-old kid. And so this is a good opportunity for him to continue to grow as a player. Because I'm going to tell you about the SEC teams. If they get you down by, at this time, almost 39 points, they're trying to hold you to 3 points. So these guys are playing hard, and so is he. And so what you like is the physicalness of his run after the catch and the quickness to put his foot in the ground as a big guy here.
Now, so there are a lot of highlights where Arik just did not go down easy. I mean, I really loved his mindset that I think he went in when he had the ball in his hands. I think he knew, like you said, there's a lot of potential there. Will he meet it at Nebraska? We don't know that yet, but just looking at him and his time at LSU, he's just a freak athlete, and I think he knows that about himself, and that's why you see him getting that extra 5 yards, 10 yards, kind of just like ripping through a arm tackle with those powerful legs and frame that he has. So we know he can catch the ball. We know he can be an effective receiver. But when I was watching the film of him, I was trying to find some examples of him being a willing blocker, an effective blocker, and I did, and that was really good to see. And that's one thing that I'm wondering about with Nebraska's current tight end room is we have some receiving options there, and I really like it. I know Thomas Fidone, look, back-to-back serious knee injuries that have kept him off the field, but I'm pretty confident in Thomas Fidone's receiving ability. Of course, we want to see it on the field. I'm not saying he's going to be just a Heisman Trophy winner or whatever. But one thing that I'm wondering about with this current Nebraska tight end room is the blockers in there. Do they have effective and willing blockers for when it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2 in November in the Big Ten, and we're wanting to pick up the first down on a run? Are they going to have a tight end come in and be a Travis Vokolek type big body who's not afraid to stick his nose in a chest plate and drive through? And I think Arik Gilbert, he is that. I mean, I really liked what I saw in the run game from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of blocking is obviously there's want to first, right? That's want to. You got to want to block somebody. You got to want to put your body on somebody. Then the technique comes, and this is a young kid right here going up against Bama. And when you're looking at Bama's defense, every single one of those guys are in the NFL. You see Joe, and then up top you see the best corner in the league. Both of these linebackers have been drafted. And so here's a wraparound ISO, essentially getting to an old school ISO at a different look. A young freshman right here going up against number 8, who was all SEC, and he's got to meet him in the hole to create some space for this running back. You like it? Good leverage, knows where the run play should go. and he does a good enough, right? He almost got to pancake. If he would have really finished him, he could have got his first pancake with a little syrup, but it was good right there. It was a good block for a 10, 15-yard run, and more than that. And so he sprung this play right here. Obviously, they had some good movement up front, but we're concentrating on him. One is his willingness to block, and then I like the technique. He knows where it's the ISO. The running back has a clear path where to go. His big body is able to seal people off. So it's not about flat backing people. It's about setting the edge, getting your leverage, creating a hole for the running back to do his job. And then after that, it's up to the running back to continue along and obviously make a good run. And this right here, you see a really good angle right here, which is a hard block, right? He's wrapping around, have to get his shoulder pad square. Then he also has to have good leverage. He's a big 6'5" kid to get down and be at the pad level right there with that Alabama linebacker. Now he gets able to use his big body and wall him off, which is going up against Christian Harris, who was a pretty effective linebacker at Alabama. So that's a really good block, and it's showing his willingness, right? First and foremost, willingness to block and pretty good technique for an 18-year-old kid playing in the SEC. That's a pretty big feat.
Yep. And then a final example here. I really liked this one as well at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, again, it's the different positions right here. And again, it's a play. It's a little bit of more of a counter ISO. But again, what I like is the willingness first, the technique. When you're seeing he's got to seek out a linebacker, right? You see the initial pop right there and the leg drive. And then he knows he has the leverage already. 6'5", 250, a young kid. So they can't just say he's a pass catcher. A counter weak side ISO right here. And there on contact, he gets his pads low, and then he drives his feet, walls him off, smart, good technique right there, right? You're not going to flat back and start knocking people down, play in and play out in the SEC or the Big Ten. You're playing against Division I athletes that are going to bring it. And Vanderbilt, obviously always is trying to be a little bit nasty on defense, but I like it. I like the play right here. I like the willingness. I like the ability to find out and seek out who you're going to block. There's no hesitation on contact. He moves them at least 1 or 2 yards, so you got the good leg drive. Of course, you like his pad level to be a little bit lower, but he's 6'5", almost 6'6", 250 pounds. And then he does a really good job of staying on his block, right? Like Velcro. I always talk about our defensive guys need to get off blocks better. But what he does is with his leverage, right? And that's his God-given, frame, 6'5", 250, contact, recover, right? Rolls his hips. You see him. Leg drive, those big strong legs that we saw breaking tackles, helps the block, and then he flips his hips right there, which is really, really good. And that's a technique thing, right? So he's not at this point, he's 18 years old. He can't be Gronkowski. He can't be that. What he's doing is being an effective blocker when asked upon. So when you look at his tape, right? And when you look at his tape, Sherman's tape, the guys from, maybe from Florida, everybody that comes in high school, where they come from JUCO, high school, transfer portal. The one thing that you can see from all the recruits, and especially him, right, especially in a need position, that has some, obviously more playing time than anybody and success, as far as his 35 catches as a freshman, he's walking in with more tangible tape. So what you see and what I think which is kind of a repetitive thing with Coach Rhule and his staff is that you see, I see what they're looking at here. I see the potential here. I see why they would bring him in. Not just, hey, we need a tight end. Let's just go down the list. You're a tight end, bring you in, and then be like, oh, well, he can't really play dead. You see that this guy can play. So really what's going to be interesting is how he makes an adjustment to being in Nebraska and obviously, being here in another school. How he brings, the intangibles, right? The work ethic, leadership, and then also taking advantage of the opportunity. And then how the coaching staff, support staff give him the resources or work with him on a game plan so he can be as successful as he can be off the field, academically, culturally, relationship-wise, and make him a better person, or, not a better person, but add to him as a person, which then will accentuate him on the field. So, it's a great opportunity. He's coming in here and to, partner most likely with Thomas Fedoni. You got two guys that were the number one tight ends respectively. Then you'd like to see them compete and make each other better and understand two's better than one. Don't be afraid of competition, because I can tell you what, the quarterback's best friend in a new offensive system, which is Casey and Sims, is a tight end. You know what's even better than that? two of them, and they're both big targets, right? Both of them are 6'5", about 250. Both can run. Both were. I know Thomas Fedoni is a willing blocker, right? So right there, I know I can work with that. We got to whoever the tight end coach is, and in their scheme, work on the technique so they can be effective. Now you're talking about some matchup problems here, right? Two guys that got big frames, good catch radiuses. That's how you create a little bit more offense while the offensive line gets get intact. The receivers kind of work themselves out and see who's the 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, so forth and so on. So I like what they're doing, and so now we just need everything else to kind of fall in line, and everything could be on the up and up, moving into next year.
Going to be quite a first job in college football for Bob Wager, Nebraska's tight ends coach, after spending the past 17 years at Arlington Martin down in Texas doing some things for the Warriors there. Two former number one overall tight ends.
It could be. Hey, look, man, look. You could have two former number one tight ends with tons of potential and tons of opportunity, or you could have Jay Foreman and Steve Marik in your tight end room, and then that's what you talk about as a big job. So you're getting paid pretty good. You're at Nebraska, and you're looking at two big, strong athletes just to start with, along with all the other guys in there. Yep. It's not that hard of a job, and he's looking at a positive. Like, it could be a lot worse. You could be at like a Northwestern or somewhere where you don't have any tight ends, and maybe you're trying to have open tryouts on campus, or you have some old heads with a semester or two like myself that might try to come and give you a couple plays. So yeah, it's still, you'd like to have two or three tight ends that got NFL, or that got pretty much just all conference and going to be foregone conclusion into the NFL. But what he has two guys that are at the same point of their career, and he could have a big influence on their year and years to come. So I'm sure he's looking at it like that, and hopefully he does a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that was the Blackshirt breakdown, Arik Gilbert edition. Arik Gilbert, the 10th transfer overall for Nebraska. So that was Jay Foreman. I am Steve Marik, and that was the Blackshirt breakdown. We'll see you all later.